A Trip to Woodland, retold by Jane and Sarah Brierley. Illustrations by Tony Wolff. A surprise visitor. Early one fine morning, when a soft breeze was wafting the smell of spring flowers through the gnome's village, a strange sound could be heard. Campion heard it first. He was on his way to his vegetable garden on the far side of the village. "What's that funny noise?" he wondered. Now the noise seemed different. It was a sort of loud whizzing ending in a groan. Campion trotted on nervously until he came to his vegetable garden, and there he saw a terrible sight. His tool shed was as flat as a pancake. But there was worse to come. Campion raised his eyes, and there in front of him stood a giant. "Help!" squeaked Campion, twirling like a top and setting off as fast as he could go. "Help! A giant!" He rushed through the village sounding the alarm. Shutters flew open as Campion sped by, and soon a crowd of gnomes had gathered at the edge of the village. At last, Cowslip, the bravest of all the gnomes, stepped forward. "Keep calm, everybody," he ordered. "Maybe this isn't a bad giant. After all, he hasn't done any real harm yet." "He squashed my shed," said Campion angrily. "Well, maybe he didn't notice it," replied Cowslip. "I imagine you've stepped on an ant's house at one time or another. Come on, let's hear what this giant has to say for himself." The gnomes shuffled nervously up to the giant. "Hello," they said all together. The giant looked down.
"Hello!"
The gnomes almost fell in a heap. "Please don't shout so," they asked hastily. "Who are you and what do you want?" There was a wheezing sound, and then the giant whispered,
"My name is Redbeard, and I desperately need someone to help me get rid of my toothache. It's driving me crazy."
"Crazy?" said the gnomes, looking fearfully at one another.
"Yes, crazy,"
said Redbeard firmly. Now it happened that Crosswort, the dentist gnome, had been up early cleaning his instruments. He'd been so busy that he hadn't heard the hullabaloo outside. Just as the giant said,
"Crazy,"
Crosswort stuck his head out of his door and said brightly, "First patient, please! Come along, there's nothing to be afraid of." "Ah!" whimpered Redbeard. Crosswort nearly jumped out of his skin. The gnomes all started talking at once. "Quiet!" ordered the little dentist, who wasn't called Crosswort for nothing. He marched over to the giant. "Lie down!" The giant lay down meekly on his stomach, taking care this time not to damage anything. "Open wide," said Crosswort, as though the giant were nothing more than any old gnome or badger. He peered into Redbeard's mouth. There it was, a hole as big as a football way at the back. "Nothing to it," said Crossword.
Teamwork, that's what it needs. Get the green shamrock people to stand by and tell Clover the carpenter to build me some scaffolding.
Soon everything was ready, even a big syringe to give the giant an injection of berry juice so that the drill wouldn't hurt.
Now, Redbeard,
Said Crossword sternly,
open wide and keep your jaws steady.
and he climbed bravely over the giant's lower front teeth. Groaned the giant as the needle went in. Eee! He grunted as the gnomes began to turn the drill while Crossword guided the point. The gnomes worked busily turning the big drill and keeping Crossword supplied with hand instruments. Soon he was packing a special cement into the cleaned-out hole. Crossword stepped out of Redbeard's mouth and looked around feeling rather pleased with himself. After all, it's not every day a dentist gnome gets to work on a giant.
There you are.
He said kindly, patting Redbeard's cheek.
No hot liquids for an hour, and don't bite on it until supper time.
But Redbeard was fast asleep.